time that the agency formally decided to study hypnosis and memory control and truth drugs. At the time, the US was watching the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea with intense suspicion because there were rumors that captured American soldiers were being brainwashed. The CIA wanted to know if the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea, if they can all do it, why can't we? I like that beef. Seven and a half out of 10. I think this is the classic stacker, I'm pretty sure. Right? Does it look like that to you? The classic stacker. I would imagine that's what this is. Should have done my homework better. So, the CIA experimented with hypnosis, barbiturates, scopolamine, and polygraph tests. A 1950 declassified memo asked if the CIA could create a condition in which an individual would do bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature such as self-preservation, which tells you everything that you need to know about where the project was headed and what its true intentions were. By 1951, Bluebird had evolved into Project Artichoke with a new directive, and that was to make the experiments operational. If Bluebird was all about asking, can we, then Artichoke was saying, let's do it. The Office of Scientific Intelligence took over, and they brought in chemists, psychiatrists, and field agents to see how far human behavior could be bent or broken. They explored special interrogation methods, and those special interrogation methods mixed LSD, mescaline, and morphine, hypnosis and suggestion, induced amnesia and sleep deprivation, addiction and forced withdrawal, isolation and psychological stress, and some experiments even reportedly took place in CIA safe houses overseas, where foreign prisoners or suspected spies could then be used as subjects. The idea was that they wanted to find the perfect combination of drugs and psychological pressure so that they could get absolute obedience or a total confession. And none of this, by the way, is science fiction. None of it. This was all signed off on, funded, and monitored at the very highest levels. I had to re-record this because I ran out of room in my phone. So, this is what is left of the double stacked taco, and oh my god, it's a 9 out of 10. The meat in here, I love it. and stimulants could later awaken the subject for questioning. They also experimented with truth serums like sodium amytal and scopolamine, trying to find the mix that unlocked memories or broke resistance. At the same time, they ran defensive tests, how to protect American operatives from these very methods if they were used against them. So, Artichoke wasn't only about control, it was also about immunity. Many times the test subjects did not consent. They were sometimes prisoners, hospital patients, or even people in the CIA's custody abroad. Because these were classified operations, the oversight was non-existent. As the years went on, Artichoke blurred into other CIA efforts, especially MKUltra, which officially began in 1953. Many Artichoke scientists simply continued their work there under the new umbrella. When MKUltra was exposed in the 1970s, investigators discovered that files from Bluebird and Artichoke were the precursors, early prototypes of mind control research. Both programs quietly disappeared in name, but their spirit lived on. I'm getting extremely full, but I know there is a Crunchwrap Supreme in here, so. Smells like bread. After the Watergate scandal, the U.S. Senate formed the Church Committee in 1975 to investigate intelligence abuses. When they subpoenaed the CIA, boxes of old files surfaced, labeled Bluebird/Artichoke, and investigators found that much of the paperwork had been kept in soft files, not in official archives, which meant these weren't accounted for anywhere. Some reports listed the experiments as behavioral control research in foreign field stations. Declassified memos now sit in the CIA reading room and at the National Security Archive, and these show detailed meeting notes, progress reports, even chemical recipes. One memo from the 1970s inventory said there were 14 linear feet of documents related to these early programs. That is hundreds of files. And again, this is all real. So, to understand why this might have been allowed, I guess you have to picture the mindset of the early Cold War. The Soviet Union had nuclear weapons, and America was terrified of being caught unprepared. Militarily, psychologically, technologically, the CIA believed the human mind was the next battlefield. They had seen reports of brainwashing from Korea and Eastern Europe, and they thought, if mind control is possible, we can't afford not to have it. So they funded everything, from hypnosis and drugs to psychic research and sensory deprivation. It was the age of paranoia, and the human soul became just another lab experiment. When these programs were finally revealed, it shocked Congress. The Church Committee hearings forced new laws. No human experimentation without informed consent. More congressional oversight for intelligence operations. Mandatory destruction limits on certain classified research. MKUltra became infamous, but Bluebird and Artichoke are where it all started. They were the blueprints for government-sanctioned psychological experimentation. And today, researchers still sift through redacted documents, trying to understand just how much damage was done. Some of the same scientists later advised military interrogation manuals and behavioral studies, and the echoes of Artichoke appear in later Cold War and even early 21st century discussions about enhanced interrogation. So while the specific projects ended, the questions they asked never fully went away. How much control does one human have over another? And how far will governments go to find out? It's Crunchwrap time. crazy because it happens and then you hear about it 20 years later. So what's happening right now that we're not going to know about for 20 years, or 30 years, or 40 years, or 50 years, you know? It's all so crazy. It really is like beg forgiveness later, except I don't think anyone ever begs forgiveness. I just try to destroy as many documents as possible and then go, well, here's what you can have, here's what you can see. We'll declassify this. Is it all a psyop?